Good morning and welcome to the Met Report. It's Friday, October 25th. I'm Fred Durst.
And I'm Ron Burgundy. Thank you guys for joining us today. We have a lot to cover, so let's get started. In the early hours of Monday morning, an Auraria police officer was injured in a shooting, sustaining non-life-threatening injuries. The shooting took place at 1 a.m. at the intersection of 7th and Colfax, near the Colfax Auraria Light Rail Station in the Bear Creek building. The suspect, 29-year-old Aaron Werner, had resisted arrest after assaulting an officer, ultimately leading Werner to firing off 4 shots, one of which hit an ACPD officer in the arm. The officer was taken to a hospital to be treated for injuries. He has since been released. Werner, however, is now in custody and charged with attempt homicide and assault to a police officer. Since its development in 1965, MSU has never had its own on-campus housing. Students who were looking to live on the campus had 2 options, one being to live in CU's Links Crossing or in City Heights.
That's right, Ron. However, there are plans for a new development to have on-campus housing owned by MSU here at the Auraria ball field. I looked into this development to find out more what this means for MSU students, as well as what else this development can provide to the Auraria campus. Over here on 11th Street and Auraria Parkway, MSU had its very own baseball field. After 2015, however, it moved to the athletic compound, leaving here an empty lot. There have been talks of MSU student housing for years, however, nothing has been made. In 2027, however, that could be a reality. For many years now, MSU students who are looking to live on campus have the option to live in CU Denver's Links Crossing Complex or City Heights next to the Tivoli Quad. However, since MSU's construction, there has never been an on-campus housing made by the university. There have been recent talks of MSU's new development. In the ball field of Auraria lot, there are plans to construct 2 buildings, one owned by MSU and one owned by Auraria campus. MSU's building will be housing for students with a variety of services such as a new location for the C2 hub, and Auraria's building will be the workforce housing, which will be open to the general public, not just Auraria students. One of the main goals of this development is to bring students closer to Auraria and change the idea that MSU is a commuter campus. I spoke with James Miah, Chief Strategy Officer here in MSU, about this development and what it aims to accomplish.
Why now? Because Denver continues to change and it continues to become more and more expensive. And as a commuter campus in the history of that, we have found that our students have lived further and further away from Auraria campus. We want to provide an opportunity, an affordable opportunity so that they can be closer. But also create a sense of community here on campus that where people want to stay. They want to live, they want to dine, they want to recreate here, create a bit more of a sticky or a kind of a center of activity for students. And we think student housing is very much at the center of that.
Even though final decision plans of specific rooms have not been made yet, the new student housing aims to have similar rates to those in Links Crossing and City Heights, as well as the surrounding area. Taylor Tackett, Associate Vice President for Student Engagement and the Dean of Students, spoke further on these rates.
They're fairly close to CU Denver's rates right now, but again, I want to amplify what James was saying is that we're still trying to drive down that cost individually for our students, whether we're doing that through advancement gifts, through individual grants and scholarships to individual students based on their need. So that's how we're trying to look at that. So I think that price point's between $5,000 and $6,000 per year or per semester. So we know that many of our students are having a lot of challenging finding stable housing here in the Denver community. And so I think this is an opportunity for us as a campus to really step in and help create that experience. We also know that our institution is filled with first-generation students and students navigating this experience without support infrastructures as well too. And so when you can live here, work here, eat here, learn here, really you're creating an all-around wraparound support infrastructure that we talk about as an institution and what we really sell to students. And so I think that this is one of the ways that we really get that across the line, is making affordable housing that is attractive, that also gives amenities programmatically and otherwise that will really help folks stay in college and finish and be able to do that in an affordable way. And so that is something I've been really proud of this team, all of the teams, all of the folks working on this, our senior leaders, President Davidson. That has been the hyper focus of the entire why behind this project. And to me, that's critically important.
The final designs of the development are still in the works, but construction is expected to start soon. Miah stated that the opening of these buildings should be during the fall 2027 semester. A full conversation will be uploaded here in the Met Report YouTube channel, where Travis Brooks of our very own Metropolitan and I speak more on funding and other questions about this development. Over here at the ball field of Auraria, I'm Tyson Sintas with the Met Report. Every year, our colleague at the Metropolitan, David Morrison, hosts a clothing drive for the Northern Cheyenne tribe in Montana. Working alongside Giving Heart Inglewood, David fills up a trailer with items that people living on the reservation need. This year, the items most needed are coats, shirts, pants, shoes, underwear, along with hygiene products that will be made into kits for distribution.
We have a lot of youth on the reservation that a lot of the families can't afford clothes for their children. There was just an issue at the beginning of the school year for the Busby district where some kids weren't going to school, and when they got asked why, they didn't have shoes or clothes to go to school. So it's what really inspired me to do this drive and have an event over fall break.
The drive will run until the start of fall break, which is November 25th. The donation box is located in the Met Media office. Sorry about that. Room 313 in the Tivoli Student Union on the Auraria campus. If you can't make it to campus, don't worry. Giving Heart Inglewood will also be accepting donations for the drive at their office, located at 4358 South Broadway in Inglewood, Colorado, open 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Club Taekwondo hosted a self-defense workshop for students who are looking to learn practical skills and to protect themselves in unforeseen situations. Our reporter Laryss Rodriguez went to check it out. Let's take a look.
Self-defense is a valuable asset to have, not only as a woman, but as a student who may be traveling alone on campus. Located in the athletic building is a workshop to help students learn this valuable skill.
Women, men, younger students, and older students all gathered on campus to learn a few tips and tricks on how to properly protect themselves when in harm.
As a female, since I've had my own near-miss experiences, when putting together this workshop, I really thought about how I felt and what I wanted to have learned or learn more of, and just better equip myself in situations like that.
Bonnie, a member of Club Taekwondo who realized the importance of self-defense after being drugged in a bar. Bonnie's hope for the workshop is that others will not make the same mistakes she did and can learn from her experience and the workshop.
Like self-defense, the true aspect of it is to not get in it in the first place, right? You don't want to be in that situation. And that's the best I can drill. But if you do end up in that, then I also want to help, like, especially women, know how to get out of that or have their options open for them.
The beginning of the workshop touched on the importance of being aware of your surroundings and making sure you aren't in a position to potentially be harmed or followed.
If you're on campus, especially for our students on our campus, there are red pillars around campus that says emergency on the side. And in the event that you can't get into a building and you're alone and there's an assailant after you, it's good to know where these lights are or these pillars are, and there's an emergency button you click, and Auraria campus police can respond to you.
The next workshop will be held on November 15th from 2 to 4 p.m. For the Met Report, I'm Laryss Rodriguez.
Welcome back. Auraria campus is going to see a lot more action next door over at the ball arena for the next several years. Denver City Council approved businessman and billionaire Stan Kroenke's 64-acre plan of turning the empty parking lots around the ball arena into a development that aims to bring thousands of residents into an expanded downtown. This past Monday, City Council voted unanimously and adopted a plan to create an affordable housing that could add to a string of developments along the South Platte River that aims to double the population of downtown. Kroenke Sports and Entertainment plans to construct more than 6,000 housing units, more than 1,000 of which will be designated as affordable. The proposal also extends the Nuggets and Avalanche's stay in the immediate area of Ball Arena or a nearby arena until 2050. The proposal initially raised concern about the development blocking views of the Rocky Mountains, but at Monday's meeting, there was widespread support for the affordable housing, with certain size restrictions. Construction could begin as soon as 2026. However, the full development isn't planned to be completed until as late as 2050.
The McDonald's ice cream machine isn't the only thing that's causing problems. The Quarter Pounder, one of McDonald's most popular items, is being recalled. The CDC issued a food safety alert this past Tuesday, warning millions of burger fans to avoid the Quarter Pounder. The fast food chain responded by taking the Quarter Pounder off of its menu in about a fifth of its stores. The states where these stores are based in include Nebraska, Utah, Nevada, and even here in Colorado. The CDC is reporting that the recall has to do with either their patties or the silvered onions containing E. coli. If you have consumed a Quarter Pounder, be on the lookout for these symptoms, including nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. If you are expecting any of these symptoms, you are asked to call your doctor, or if it's an emergency, call 911.
With signs in hand and voices raised, Kaiser mental health workers in Southern California have taken a stand, striking against staffing shortages and overwhelming workloads to demand better care for their patients and themselves. Over 2,400 Kaiser Permanente psychologists, therapists, social workers, and other mental health workers in Southern California began an open-ended strike on Monday. They voiced their frustration over inadequate staffing and overwhelming caseloads, reporting feeling burned out and undersourced, making it challenging to provide quality care to their patients. The National Union of Healthcare Workers, which represents the employees, is negotiating a new contract with the Oakland-based health giant, demanding Kaiser hire more people to ease the heavy workload put on the current staff. In response, Kaiser issues a statement that the union has been delaying the progress of negotiations the healthcare company has proposed, adding the union's proposal has been overreaching and unreasonable. As the strike continues, the mental health workers hope that their actions will lead to a meaningful change within the organization.
Halloween has always been a fan favorite for many people who are wanting to get into the spooky spirit, and it's a good introduction to the autumn season. So it comes as a surprise when sales for the 2024 Halloween season are shown to be roughly $4 less for every American household. Financial struggles as well as increased inflation are a big part of this decline, as most families look to cut down on unnecessary spending. This comes about at popular retail stores including the Spirit Halloween and the Home Depot, who released new costumes and decorations. Despite the drop in sales last year, overall Halloween sales have been rising since the height of the pandemic. Despite the drops in overall sales, there is still a strong likelihood of seeing decorations and costumes in your neighborhood. That's all we have today for local and campus stories, but do not go anywhere, because after the break, we have Zulema in the latest with politics.
Hello everyone, I'm Zulema Pantoja with all the latest news in politics. Let's see what's been going on from here to Washington, D.C. In 2025, many Colorado taxpayers will see both a tax rate and reduction and table refunds. A recent report from the Colorado Office of the State Auditor revealed a surplus of $1.7 billion in revenue. This excess revenue triggers refunds under taxpayers' Bill of Rights or TABOR. If the state collects more revenue than it's allowed, that excess must be returned to Coloradans. Single fillers can expect an average of refund of $326, while joint fillers will see around 652 refunds. Refunds vary by income level, with lower income taxpayers receiving more. In addition to refunds, the income tax rate will drop from 4.4% to 4.25%, thanks to excess revenues surpassing $1.5 billion. However, future refunds may decline. New legislation could redirect excess revenues to other tax credits, leading to reduced table refunds starting in 2026. We're just 10 days out from the November 5th presidential election, and young voters at MSU Denver are a crucial voting bloc in this election. New voters can be finding out lots of misinformation about voter fraud. A former MSU Denver student laid concerns to rest at a panel this past Monday. Our reporter Luke Maestas has the privilege of going to this panel and seeing what this former MSU Denver student had to say.
I'm outside the Aerospace Engineering building where a former MSU student, who now works for Denver Votes, reached out to a crucial voting bloc to debunk some myths about voter fraud. Let's go inside and hear what he has to say. Young voters are indeed the most crucial voting bloc in this upcoming election. And in 2020, Gen Z voters came out in droves, with 65% of their ballots for Joe Biden, deciding the last race. But instead of celebrating American democracy, post-election myths of voter fraud followed. These claims of election interference in the 2020 election spiraled out of control, with former President Trump claiming that the presidency was rigged, ultimately leading to the January 6th insurrection at our nation's capital.
We hear quite a bit, and at the end of the day, to debunk them, it's all just looking at the facts. As much transparency in the process as we can. So when we have people saying like, oh, mail ballots are, X, Y, and Z, making claims, we just show them the process.
Ethan Smith, a former MSU Denver student who now works for Denver Votes, knows the importance of reaching out to young voters, explaining the process of voting, teaching how ballots work, debunking any myths of fraud that students may have heard, as well as answering frequently asked questions.
That's exactly like why I came here today is, while these, I haven't heard anything specifically from this group about, beliefs like that, it's always good to show people the process just so they can kind of tamper that down a little bit, so that if someone around them starts to kind of say those things, especially, right now it's about to be, the election, it's good for them to have the information to, spread that around and say, hey, no, that's not the case. Here's the actual process and here's why it's factual.
Now reaching out to young voters about the importance of voting, Ethan Smith from Denver Votes and Robert Preuss, the political science chair at MSU, hope the sample size of young voters could make all the difference in this neck-and-neck crucial election.
I think it's a really good thing. I think, we have an issue where us young people like to complain a lot, but then we have a really low voter turnout. So I think having groups like this come out and explain the process and why it's important to vote is always a good thing.
Yeah, I think it does. At some point folks have already voted. The other side of it is that, the speaker here is one of our own students who happens to work for Denver, the city and county and clerk's office. And that's actually important in and of itself, right? To have a peer come in and say, look, this is the process, you can be confident in it. And it's important to participate because, once again, if you're not participating, you're letting everybody else who you may disagree with have the power to decide.
If you have any questions regarding the election and voting, please visit the MSU Denver Civic Guide and go to denvervotes.com where you can learn more on voting. For the Met Report, I'm Luke Maestas.
A proposal to find universal basic income for Denver's homeless population has hit a roadblock in the form of opposition for Mayor Mike Johnston. The Denver Basic Income Project is an effort to combat the homeless epidemic by providing money, no strings attached, to unhoused people across the city. This last year, it included over 800 people across 3 groups in its study and found that almost half were able to find housing as a result of their new income. Following these findings, City Council plans to vote on whether the TBIP should receive public funding. But now Johnston, who has made homeless a focal point of his administration, say he wants to direct the city's budget towards other methods. The council can override a majority veto if 9 out of 13 members vote to do so, which could happen as early as this week. Violence continues to be a major issue in world politics, with politicians assassinated in England and Japan since the start of the 2020s, and 2 attempts of former President Donald Trump's life in this election cycle. Last week, Aurora Buddhist hosted a panel discussion about how to combat political violence. Our reporter's Alex Petrich has the story.
Abraham Lincoln, Mohandas Gandhi, John F. Kennedy. When we think of political assassinations, these are the names that stick out. Reforms to protect politicians through security details were heavily revamped after these attacks in the 20th century, but the 21st century has seen several attempts on the lives of political figures as well, whether it be Shinzo Abe, David Ames, or Gabby Giffords. Perhaps the freshest in our minds are the 2 attacks on former President Donald Trump, which have shocked the American electorate and brought the Secret Service under intense scrutiny. John Aho worked for the Secret Service for decades, and last Thursday, he came to MSU to discuss political violence and protecting politicians as a man tasked with doing it.
A lot of people don't know exactly. They think we protect everyone, or congressmen know. It's just the president, vice president, their families, president-elects, candidates, major candidates for, sometimes it starts early. They'll get us weeded down once they're the nomination, but if they're a major candidate, they'll get protection.
In the aftermath of the July assassination attempt on the former president in Butler, Pennsylvania, an independent panel was commissioned to investigate how the Secret Service allowed such a breach in security. They concluded that the Secret Service needed major reform or, quote, another Butler can and will happen again.
When you're on that protective side, there's still that protective intelligence investigations that you're going to have to do. And those guys aren't going to get those skills because they're not in the field working with the cops. And they're not going to, because whatever you see the Secret Service, but you don't see the hundred of local cops, law enforcement, other federal agencies that are helping us out, military. You're not seeing that. You just see the guy with the sunglasses. So those agents aren't going to be out in the field, and they're not going to be interacting with those cops, with local law enforcement, and they're not going to make that connection.
Aho spoke at greater length about the process of hunting down would-be assassins and the dangers of domestic terrorism.
I mean, a lot of stuff is online anymore. When I started, it was a lot of letters that get sent to the White House or the former president. So first they got to come to the Secret Service attention. And once they do, then agents go out there, start interviewing. They basically do a background. There's specific questions you're looking for because it capsule study said, hey, like one of the examples was 40% of those 83 people had interest in assassins or assassinations. But you don't have, it's not an absolute freedom of speech. There's limits on it, and we got to put that limit to stop that false information. Because now other countries are targeting us. The Russians are doing it. The Chinese are doing it. North Koreans, Iran, they're doing the same thing to us. And this is what happens if you don't check it. And I don't know how you do that. I mean, who's going to be the arbitrator? That's the issue. But we better figure that out quick, in my personal opinion, because it's destroying this country.
For the Met Report, I'm Alex Petrich.
Well, that's all we have this week for politics. But we'll see you next week with more news. But don't tune out just yet, because we have Ytzel Vazquez with entertainment.
Welcome to this week's entertainment segment. I'm Ytzel Vazquez, here to give you all the latest updates in the world of entertainment. From teenage bedroom to stadium concert, Liam Payne's voice touched millions of lives as part of One Direction. Today, those same fans are trying to make sense of his sudden death at age 31. Zulema Pantoja brings us the latest updates on this developing story.
Liam Payne, former One Direction star, tragically passed away on October 16 after falling from a hotel balcony in Buenos Aires, Argentina. The incident has sent shockwaves through the music community and his fan base worldwide. In the moments leading up to the tragedy, hotel staff made frantic 911 calls, reporting that Payne was overloaded with drugs and alcohol, causing chaos in his room. The hotel manager urgently requested assistance, fearing for the singer's safety due to a balcony in the room.
911, ¿es emergencia?
Hola, buenos días. Recién llamé que se me acordó. Llamo del Hotel Casa Sur Palermo, Costa Rica 6032.
¿Qué sucede en el lugar, señor?
Bueno, tenemos un huésped que está sobrepasado de droga y alcohol y cuando está consciente está rompiendo toda la habitación y bueno, necesitamos que manden a alguien, por favor.
Bajo efectos de alcohol y estupefaciente, ¿no, señor?
Sí, correcto. Lo que yo te pido es que venga alguien urgente porque, bueno...
En la llamada se notificó. ¿Algún dato más para aportarme? ¿Usted quién sería? ¿Es encargado?
Yo soy el jefe de recepción.
Unfortunately, emergency service arrived too late. Payne was pronounced dead at the scene after sustaining severe injuries from the fall. Authorities confirmed that he fell approximately 42 to 45 feet from the third floor of Casa Sur Hotel. An investigation is ongoing to determine the exact circumstances surrounding his death. Speculations about whether it was an accident or intentional keep arising as more guests and employees of the hotel share their testimonies. Fans have been deeply affected by the news of Payne's passing. Social media platforms have been flooded with tributes, with many sharing their memories and expressing their grief.
For my essay to get into NYU, I wrote about how One Direction affected my life, and it's just such a big part of who I am today.
A statement from Payne's family described their heartbreak and requested privacy during this difficult time. Former bandmates from One Direction have also begun to share their condolences. In a heartfelt message, Louis Tomlinson expressed his sorrow and promised to support Payne's young son Bear in any way he could. Tomlinson reflected on their close friendship and the memories they shared during their time together in the band. In the meantime, Payne's father, Geoff Payne, flew to Argentina last week to identify his son and get him back home. After speaking to the Argentine Minister of Justice officials, it's been informed that he could be waiting 10 days before the singer's body can be flown back home.
This past Monday, the 21st, was marked as a special day for artists of all kinds with the Medal of Arts ceremony presented by President Biden. The Medal of Arts is the highest award the federal government gives to artists and art patrons for their contribution to the American culture. This year, the ceremony honored recipients from 2022 and 2023, and was not only for the Medal of Arts but also the National Humanities Medal. Documentarian Kevin Burns, Queen Latifah, Spike Lee, Steven Spielberg, and painters Mark Bradford and Alex Katz were presented with the Award of the Year of 2023. The recipients of 2022 included Missy Elliott, Leonardo Flaco Jimenez, Indina Menzel, and more. During the reception for the ceremony, President Biden said, quote, "The artist's gift is a sixth sense. No one else can carve, paint, write, sing, dance, or film until they set their vision free." This month, the 39th Annual Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony took place, enshrining its class of 2024. The inductees varied in genre from hip-hop to pop to rock. The night's highest honor of the performer categories included artists like Cher, Mary J. Blige, David Matthews Band, Ozzy Osbourne, Foreigner, and other big music names. For the first time since 2021, the event returned to the hometown of the Rock and Roll Museum with moving speeches and a special mashup from inductees who shared the stage with artists like Chad Smith, Ella May, Kelly Clarkson, and many others. The Musical Influence Award went to Alexis Korner, John Mayall, and Big Mama Thornton, while Jimmy Buffett, MC5, Dionne Warwick, and Norman Whitfield took the Musical Influence Awards. It's officially spooky season, and the box office ratings are looking a little terrifying because for the second straight weekend, a new horror sequel topped the charts. Let's check out what's in this week's top 5 box office releases. At number 5, we have a brand new drama romance starring Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh, titled We Live in Time, earning $4.2 million. In fourth place, a Halloween classic sequel titled Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, scaring up $5 million for a domestic total of $284 million. After one weekend on the top 3, Terrifier 3 fell into third place, earning $9.3 million in ticket sales. In second place, The Wild Robot generated $10.1 million, putting the animated adventure over the $100 million mark. Last but certainly not least, taking the number 1 spot is Smile 2, matching the psychological thriller's first movie opening, generating over $23 million. So, you may want to consider checking out one of these frightening films if you're looking to get in the Halloween spirit. Well, that's all we have for you this week on the entertainment segment. Stay tuned because after the break, we have Ben Pearse with sports.
Hello everyone, I'm Ben Pearse here to bring you all the important updates in sports. Let's get this ball rolling. This past weekend, MSU Denver hockey faced 2 tough Colorado teams in an exciting doubleheader. Our reporter Brandi Rose headed to the rink, and she's joining us now in the studio to give us the scoop.
Thanks, Ken. Hey Barbies, I have a great day every day, but I have the best days when I get to go check out some Roadrunner hockey. And this weekend, the guys headed up to Boulder to face off against their D1 team, then took on DU in a conference matchup here at home. And if you didn't get a chance to catch them last weekend, fear not, because MSU Denver hockey will be back this weekend at the Westminster Promenade on Saturday to take on Wyoming at 1:15. and again on Sunday in Boulder to face the Buffs at 1. So let's take to the ice and take a look. Road hockey is back, and tonight your Roadrunners are on the ice to take on CU Division I in an exhibition match. Let's go check it out.
In a highly anticipated weekend for MSU Denver hockey, your Roadrunners face off against two Colorado teams, University of Colorado's D1 team and conference rivals University of Denver. Coming off their 5-2 win against Wyoming, the Roadrunners took on the CU Buffs in an exhibition game at the CU Rec Center. The Buffs Division I ACHA club team fell to MSU Denver 4-3, led by goals from Soren Bredesen, TJ McLeod, and their 2-goal scorer, Chris Miller. Here's what head coach Brady Reynolds had to say about his squad.
I thought they did a good job of defending our nets and finishing their routes at their net. That's a good opponent there, and I'm very, very happy with how we looked.
After taking down the Division I Buffs, MSU Denver took on DU the following day. In a physical divisional matchup, the Roadrunners outscored the Pioneers 8-4, with Zach Jensen, Nathan Jaramillo, and Tanner Calderola all tallying 2 goals apiece, and captains Soren Bredesen and TJ McLeod finding the back of the net to bring home the W on home ice.
It feels pretty good. We've been kind of struggling as a line. Like, a lot of it has just been individual, or like maybe 2 of us are going at a time, but not all 3. So to have all of us go all at once was very nice. It's nice to be back home territory and bring home a win for all of our fans. So.
The Roadrunners hope to carry their win streak into next weekend's doubleheader, hosting Wyoming on Saturday at the Westminster Promenade and heading back up to Boulder to take on the Buffs on Sunday. For the Met Report, I'm Brandi Rose.
The Lady Roadrunners are absolutely dominating the court this fall season as they are on a winning streak of an impressive 13 consecutive matches. Overall, the team's 17-1 and 8-0 in the RMAC Conference. In 2021, the team was ranked #1 and stayed there for 5 weeks, then returned to #1 ranked in 2022 and stayed there for 4 weeks. The Lady Roadrunners will face off tonight against the Adams State at 6 p.m. in the Athletic Building. We are in the home stretch of the high school football season. Last Thursday, our reporter Luke Maestas got the chance to go out to Trailblazer Stadium to catch the Conifer Lobos take on the Wheat Ridge Farmers. Let's take a look.
The Wheat Ridge Farmers took on the Conifer Lobos Thursday, and it was a game that you had to see. Wheat Ridge was looking to snap their losing streak against the Lobos, but Conifer showcased their powerful offense by getting the match started with a touchdown and a complete PAT. But Wheat Ridge answered back with integrity, with a touchdown by senior wide receiver Bennett Wilkes. In the second half, Conifer put up an astounding 21 points, which was orchestrated by senior quarterback Benson White and the Conifer special teams. Wheat Ridge came back in the second half, putting up 14 points, with the help of senior quarterback Isaac Mullins, scoring a touchdown of his own. But it was not enough, as Conifer defended their win streak against the Farmers, with a final score of 48-26. Despite the loss for Wheat Ridge, the Farmers still showcased bright spots. Quarterback Isaac Mullins threw for 300 yards, and Bennett rushed for 144 yards. Well, Conifer took the win against the Farmers 48-26. Wheat Ridge is looking a little optimistic as they came back in the second quarter, scoring at least 2 touchdowns. But it was all Conifer tonight, showcasing their powerful offense. This is Luke Maestas with the Met Report.
In the world of women's sports, the New York Liberty has officially won their first WNBA championship against the Minnesota Lynx. 67-62 was the final score of the game. Breanna Stewart tied the game with 2 made free throws with only 5 seconds left in the period 4. The Liberty won in overtime period 7-2. The finals MVP was rewarded to Jonquel Jones, who had 17 points and 6 rebounds in Game 5. Jones was plus 1,000 to win MVP at the start of the series. The city of New York hasn't seen a basketball championship since 1973 when the New York Knicks won the NBA title. Well, that ends our sports segment. Be sure to check out our YouTube channels for updates on all sports. I've been Ben Pearse with the sports. Let's send it back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you, Ben. So, Fred, what made you decide to not dress up for work today?
Well, you know what, Ron, it's just one of those days where I just didn't want to wake up. But you know what? I was wondering, what brings you back later, 20 years later?
Well, to quote the great Deion Sanders, I'm still in my prime.
And so am I.
Thank you guys so much for joining us today.
Be sure to check out more on our YouTube channel at mymetmedia.com, as well as follow us on Facebook.
Be sure to check out our YouTube channel and our TikTok and Instagram for all the latest to up-to-date coverage.
From all of us at the Met Report, thank you for joining us. I'm Fred Durst.
And I'm Ron Burgundy. You stay classy, MSU Denver.